is my decision. It's up to me to give of my heart. Love is my decision. No one else can tell me to start. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to stand on that bridge. Love is my decision. No one else can make me forgive. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. Love is my decision. It's up to me to dance down the road. Love is my decision. No one else can lighten my load. And once I decide to change my mind, God will show me how. Love is my decision. My decision, right here and now. My decision, right here and now. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings out to you. Oh Lord, my God, you are my strength. You carry me on your wings. You are in me. You know my heart. And my soul sings out to you. My soul sings out to you, my love. My soul sings.
Good morning on this beautiful Sunday morning. I'm so happy to welcome you here to our WisdomCast. My name is Reverend Alice Reed, and I am the spiritual director here at Centers for Spiritual Living Santa Cruz. We're located in Live Oak, and if this is your first time joining us, welcome. You are welcome here. Welcome home. I have a piece of music I want to share with you that is very meaningful to me and very up in my heart and in my mind. As I watch the news and listen to what's going on in our country right now, the words of this song came so beautifully to comfort me in my heart, and that is that love's the only house big enough to hold all the pain in the world. Enjoy. I have a quote that I want to read you from Martin Luther King. And I share that song and I share this quote because there is a lot of pain in the world right now, and it's accumulative. It didn't happen with one incident. It didn't happen with even two incidences. It's been going on for a while. And love is the only house big enough to carry us through. And so Martin Luther King wrote these words in 1956. As you press on for justice, be sure to move with dignity and discipline, using only the weapon of love. Let no man pull you so low as to hate him. Always avoid violence. If you succumb to the temptation of using violence in your struggle, unborn generations will be recipients of a long and desolate night of bitterness, and your chief legacy to the future will be an endless reign of meaningless chaos. And I share that with you because I don't believe that anything that's going on is meaningless, and I don't see love as a weapon, but I do feel like there are many parts of our global community that have been under pressure for a long time. And the metaphor that it feels like for me right now is that the pot has boiled over and the lid has just flown off the pot as the pot has exploded. And it wasn't able to say, I'm not going to hurt this place and I'm not going to do damage to that place. It just does damage where it blows. And so let's hold our Black brothers and sisters in our hearts right now. If you're watching this broadcast, my guess is that most of you are white and living in Santa Cruz, and we can't begin to know what it feels like to be African American in this country. But we can hold them in love no matter what. We can hold them in love. So we have a beautiful time planned for you this morning. Susan Springfield is going to speak, and of course, anyone who knows Susan Springfield knows that her heart is in the right place, and she is always looking at ways for us to build our empathy muscle and to walk through the challenges of life with skills. And so she provides a wonderful message about hope in today's environment. We are a Center for Spiritual Living. We're part of a global movement, and as a community here in Live Oak, we have our own centering statement. We are a spiritually progressive community that transforms lives in the world through a philosophy of possibility thinking, responding to life with love. We have a couple of announcements for you. There's a lot going on right now. So, last week, I believe it was Monday, the governor of California provided some uh, allowances for spiritual communities and religious centers to open up, but he's provided quite a few guidelines. And I want you to know that we're not going to be opening our center again until we know it can be safe. And I want to first thank one of our board members, Debbie Bratby, who's agreed to be our COVID safety compliance officer. And so I'm seeing some things in the can't access line. It says policy violations. They shut us down because I played a song. So let me live stream. It says policy violations. Okay. Don't you just love live access? So I think you just have to leave the broadcast and come back. And then you should be here with us. So what I want to let you know is that we're handling COVID with care. And we're handling this with safety and wanting to make sure that each one of us is going by the guidelines when we come together. And so our safety compliance officer, that's Debbie Bratby, she will be making sure that everything at the center is in alignment with the guidelines for safety that the governor put out. So I wanted to let you know about that. We are moving back into the center for broadcasting. So that'll happen over the next 2 or 3 weeks, depending upon how long it takes us to make that adjustment. I'll continue to live stream on Wednesday nights for spiritual practice. So I hope that you will join us for that. It's 7 p.m. right on this channel. And after the WisdomCast, there'll be an opportunity to come together for fellowship in our Zoom room. So you just need to dial into that number. That number is 178-032-656. And the password is 1818. And that information will show again at the end of the broadcast here. And then Monday through Saturday, there's an opportunity to connect on the Project 2 Connect call, which happens 1 p.m. every day, Pacific time. And that number is 666-000-6060. And the password is 6060. And all of this information is always on the front page of our website. So if you can't find that piece of paper you might have written something down on, I encourage you to just go to our website and you'll find all that information. So sorry about the glitches. Clearly I wanted to share that song with you by Martina McBride, and I'm sure that's copyrighted material. And so it won't be in the rebroadcast or in the taping, but it was here for you live, and you can access that song on YouTube yourself later on if you want to hear the full version of Love's the Only House Big Enough for All the Pain. So let's get to it. Our quote today is from Charles Eisenstein, and this was put together by Susan Springfield. So here we go.
This is a quote by Charles Eisenstein. we can take advantage of this pause, this break in normal, to turn onto a path of reunion, of holism, of the restoring of lost connections, the repair of community, and the rejoining of the web of life. The time of reunion is here. Every act of compassion, kindness, courage, or generosity heals us from the story of separation, because it assures both actor and witness that we are in this together.
And for our spiritual practices this morning, I have a peace practice that one of my colleagues shared with me. So I'm going to invite you to join me in this spiritual practice. So first, if you'll close your eyes and get comfortable and get in touch with your breath. And as you breathe in, allow yourself to feel your feelings. If you're feeling outrage or a broken heart or fear, take a breath. Remembering we are always more effective when we're able to be at peace within ourselves. So we take a breath to bring calm, to bring wisdom. And then before the brain has a chance to kick in, take 5 to 7 more breaths, choosing peace first. Breathe with me. When we take a breath, it allows the fight or flight reaction to our emotions to simply cease. It gives our biology a chance to settle down and stop pumping us full of adrenaline and cortisol so that we can think normally. And in this moment, allow yourself to tap into your own innate wisdom and discernment. And from this place, acknowledge the injustice that you first encountered. Acknowledge your feelings and allow yourself to be centered and grounded in this peace practice that allows you to settle your emotions so that you can walk out whatever is yours to do, grounded in mindfulness and passion. So we take a deep breath and come back to this space, knowing we can draw upon that peace practice at any time. It is simply the practice of bringing ourselves back to a presence of mind and heart that can lead us through our intuition and our connectedness and our centeredness into right action that is powerful and present. And here's our first musical piece. I hope you'll enjoy this.
Grounded in my goodness, believing in my essence, regardless of what others think, do or say. Clear that I am kind and gentle, knowing it's not accidental, but the pureness and center of who I am. Grounded in my goodness, celebrating the oneness, grateful to be who and what I am.
can soar above the petty and the pain. I can rise above. In the midst of madness, I can feel the love. In the midst of sadness, I can carry on. With an understanding, I can rise above. Grounded in my goodness, making way for transcendence. Life is happening, and yes, I am alive. So much beauty, so much grace, I reach out for the open space. Can't let frustration consume and define me. I can rise above. In the midst of madness, I can feel the love. In the midst of sadness, I can carry on. With an understanding, I can rise above. It takes so much energy to stay firm in my knowing. Easy to feel stuck, hard to discern the growing. Somehow I must transcend. Let go of the need for others to mend, and be clear in the wholeness that I have. I can rise above. I can feel the love. I can carry on. I can rise above. Grounded in my goodness, open to magnificence, willing to see my shadows and my faults. I'm responsible for my part. Approach life with an open heart, never forgetting my highest good I stand upon. I can rise above. In the midst of madness, I can feel the love. In the midst of sadness, I can carry on. With an understanding, I can rise above. I will rise above.
And that was Anatonia singing her song in the midst, behind Susan's graphics. And so now it's really my privilege and my honor to bring to you Susan Springfield, who will speak to us with her message of hope and of love.
Good morning, everyone. This is a little different. It's nice to be with you in whatever form that it takes. The last time I gave the talk, we were all together. We were in the sanctuary, and I remember saying, I don't think we really realize just how precious spiritual community is. And we've had a chance to have that realization, haven't we? So it'll be great when we can all be together safely again. I hope you're all doing well. I appreciate this opportunity to reflect on my own thoughts and feelings during this pandemic and share some of them with you this morning. There's been a lot to process, hasn't there? And I think we'll be doing it for a while. So we might as well get started. The theme for this month is listen to your heart. And so I wanted to listen to my heart in thinking about what would be the appropriate talk to give in a Science of Mind community during a pandemic. And what I came up with, and I hope it is useful this morning, is to remind us of what we have learned in this teaching, what this teaching gives us, so that during challenging times, we don't forget and we use some of the skills that we've learned and we've practiced. So probably, if you're like me, you've been going through lots of different feelings during this whole pandemic. There's probably been some fear and anxiety and some disappointment, some sadness, some loneliness, maybe all kinds of feelings that come and go in waves. And amid all these feelings for me, there's been this tiny little seedling of a feeling that I identify as hope. Could this be the pivotal moment in human history where all of us, by having one common experience, really understand that we are in this together and that we can build a world that works for all? So that's what's in my heart this morning, and I want to share some of that with you. A few weeks ago, I used a quote in my video by Clarissa Pinkola Estes. "Do not lose hope. We were made for these times." Yes, for years we have been learning, practicing, we've been in training for, and just waiting to meet on this exact plane of engagement. When I decided on this quote to do for my video, I just thought, well, it's a beautiful quote, and I want to put some imagery to it. And then I was thinking about what made it beautiful, because a lot of people enjoyed this quote, and I thought to myself, it's beautiful because it resonates with what's in our hearts. And that's really what makes it beautiful. Well, it may be beautiful, but still we have to ask ourselves, really? Were we made for these times? Have we been in training for this? Are we up for this? And just exactly what is this plane of engagement? So if you have felt like you're just in survival mode, I don't want you to hear this talk as more pressure, but I do want to remind you about the kind of training that we have been engaged in our Science of Mind teaching. Because we don't have a gym, right? We train in a different way. We train inner qualities. We train to shape and mold our consciousness, what we're thinking, what we're feeling, the beliefs that we have, our intentions. That's the kind of training we do. And I think that training is really, really useful now. I just want to remind you of some of the ways that it is useful. So the first way we train that I think can come in really handy right now is that in Science of Mind, we train to think in different levels. We believe in a reality that has several levels to it. We believe in the physical reality, the concrete reality, the day-to-day reality. We embrace science, but we also believe in a metaphysical reality. So behind all of this physical reality, there's a pattern of wholeness. There's a unity that is often obscured to us by the smallness of our vision. But in Science of Mind, we do train to zoom back and to see this bigger picture and to have access to this spiritual reality that Ernest Combs called the great reality. If we have that ability to see life on different levels, then we're not limited by the conditions. And in Science of Mind, that's what we practice, not being limited by the conditions. The conditions are not the whole story. And that's very, very helpful in times of crisis. So another part of our training that I think is really useful now is that we train in the skill of being aware of our thoughts, of watching our thoughts, and also choosing our thoughts. Like in this teaching, we don't believe that we're at the mercy of our thoughts. We believe that we have choice about what we think, and we practice choosing. We use affirmations and spiritual mind treatment, and in classes we investigate our own thoughts, and we work on this idea that certain thoughts elevate us and help us to get closer to our intentions in life, and other thoughts derail us. So we're asking ourselves, is this thought helpful to me? Is there another way that I might be thinking about this more on target with my intentions? Why is this useful now? I think it's useful because it's really easy to just kind of ruminate in some fear and anxiety. We don't know what's going to happen. Day to day, things are changing. So being able to watch the thinking that we're practicing, that we're engaging in, and to have some practice in switching that up can be very, very useful. And that's what we do here. That's what we've been practicing. Another part of what I believe to be a way in which we've been training for these times, the way in which Clarissa Pinkola Estes might actually be right, is that in science of mind, we do what's called possibility thinking. Possibility thinking is, I think, even deeper than positive thinking. It isn't that either-or thing, like there's only two ways of seeing things. There's a phrase that Ernest Holmes uses that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and he says that in any situation, there's always the availability of good. The availability of good. Now, he doesn't mean this as a gloss over. He didn't, in fact, he said, this doesn't mean that we accept lies or that mistakes are as good as right action. It's not just a kind of, happy face slapped on top of whatever's going on. It's a deeper investigation. It's saying there is something here that we can build on that can be good. And how do we know what good is? Well, again, we know that by listening to our hearts, by finding those things that resonate to those deepest places in our own hearts. This morning I've been kind of collecting things that in my mind constitute the availability of good, and I'd like to share them with you this morning. How could this corona contain the availability of good for us? I want to start with self-compassion and empathy. I think this virus has offered us an opportunity to find within us compassion. It's also offered us some great challenges. And I want to share with you this little poem. Gail Greenwood shared this with me. It's by Anonymous, so I have taken the liberty of tweaking it a little bit, Gail. But this says something important, I think, and I wanted to share it with you. We hear that we are all in the same boat, but it isn't like that. We may be in the same storm, but we're not in the same boat. Some folks are vacationing in a sailboat, and some are bailing out a rowboat. Quarantine is a respite for some, time for reflection and creativity. For some, the isolation means endless loneliness. Some folks would give anything for company, and some would give anything for some time alone. For some people, the virus is a matter of life and death, while for others it's just a statistical long shot. Some people miss paychecks, the money to feed their families, and some people just miss pedicures. Some people are restless and bored, and some people are overworked and exhausted. Some people think that the storm is nearly over, and some think the worst is yet to come. Some people go by hunches, and some people trust science. So, friends, we are not in the same boat. We are on different ships in the storm. Understand that and be kind. We can use this pandemic, this shared experience, to cultivate our sense of compassion and empathy. We can also use this, and this is another one of my availability of good points, and that is that Corona is a much needed reset that gives us the opportunity to see what is really essential. Essential, that word has been one that's used over and over again in this pandemic, hasn't it? And I think it's a great word. It's a grounding word. It brings us back to center. It says what really matters. What's our intention here? What's our purpose? What's at the essence of importance here? And we've seen it in a societal level. We've seen that a lot of essential workers were people we kind of took for granted, people we don't pay well, people we don't honor, and yet they are essential to us. And we can look at this in our own lives too. What's essential in terms of our lives? This has been kind of a reset because the routine that we were in, that grip of that routine has been loosened. And this is the time we can ask ourselves, well, what do I really miss? What do I want to go back to? And are there things I don't want to go back to? Have I taken on things that just as a matter of habit that have been now become obligations? And so this time we can reflect on that and really pare down things that are not meaningful and shine a light on the things that are essential to our souls, to our hearts, to our spirits. I think this idea of what's essential is also an idea that's so valuable in terms of the greater emergency we're facing in global warming. Because we have to understand how we can live on this planet without this ever-increasing, escalating consumption and exploitation of the resources that are polluting our world. And so we're going to have to ask ourselves, what's essential here, folks? What's enough? And we need to then turn our attention to all the sources of joy that have nothing to do with getting and spending and consuming and just really being spectators in life. Corona shows us that we are connected, and this could be a turning point for humanity. Experiences leave a mark, don't they? And an experience that involves everyone can leave an indelible mark that can be a pivot point for change. A worldwide experience has really forced us to recognize the truth of our oneness, of our interconnection. It's dramatically visible at this time, isn't it? We can't deny it. It shows us this, how interwoven we are on this planet, and that all of creation is this web of intricate relationships. There's no way that we can separate ourselves from it. It just isn't like that. And we can see that now, especially with this virus. We could see this as an opportunity to begin making the changes that can deal with the climate crisis. We could replace these lost jobs with green jobs and build an economy that meets our basic needs, the essentials, while restoring the Earth's living systems. Corona gives us greater clarity about the changes we want to see in the world. Now, one thing we know from Science of Mind is when you're getting an unwanted condition, it's a great opportunity to think about what you do want. And in a crisis, what isn't working is really amplified, isn't it? We can see it much more clearly. To quote Rumi, he said, "Becoming awake involves seeing our confusion more clearly." Well, we've been going through a lot of confusion, haven't we? It's much too confusing for me, I must confess. But it has highlighted the things that aren't working, the vulnerable populations, the people who get left out, the people who aren't cared for, the people who get marginalized and aren't provided with basic health care, and there's so many of them. I think as we rebuild a lot of our national and global economies, we could have a different intention behind it. We could see through this idea of interconnection and human values that we could build a world economy that, instead of pour so much money into preparing for war, has a whole different vision for how we might work together. Now, I know this is a long shot. I know it is. I told you that it was just a little seedling of hope. But this has never happened before. And unprecedented things can bring unprecedented changes. I'm not saying that this is going to happen fast, but I think people like us who have vision and who know how important vision is are starting to do the work of visualizing a world that is much different than the one that we've been experiencing. And we've almost been pushed to the limit with this. And I think this virus is part of pushing us to that limit where we have to turn around and say, things need to change. We need to be thinking seriously about what those changes are, and those changes need to come from the heart, where we take care of everyone. Corona shows us that rapid change is possible. When I think about these past few months, honestly, my head just spins. Most responses have been on a level that we would not have really thought possible. None of the world's problems are technically difficult to solve. They originate in human disagreement. In coherency, humanity's creative powers are boundless. Coherency and congruency, listening with the heart to the needs of life on our planet. Another thing is that Corona motivates us to action. Now, Science of Mind will always be a spiritual philosophy that emphasizes consciousness. I think, that is our focus, and I think it's an important focus. Aren't that many of us who are in this world who really pay so much attention to transforming consciousness. And we know that we have to work on both levels. We can't just try to change the world without changing consciousness. And more we're understanding that life isn't just a thought experiment, that as we change our own consciousness and sense the oneness that we feel with the rest of humanity, then this does engage our hearts and make us want to reduce the human suffering in the world. And that motivates us to take action. And so that idea that with our hands and our hearts, we take action. And this virus, I think, motivates us to do that. It shows us what's coming. It shows us what we need to do to make changes. And it shows us that change is possible. Change can happen fast. And it shows us that there are a lot of people that want to live differently. There may be some misguided souls around us too, but there are many people who who care about each other and want this world to be different. Our community can support us in this action. Our community can keep us grounded in our spiritual principles, in our transformation of consciousness, and it can also provide us with a platform and a springboard for collective action. One of the things that has really hit home is almost all the people who've talked about what we can learn from this virus have stressed the idea of community, that we need each other, that challenging times require the connections that are necessary to weave and hold us together. And we have that community, and it's not only a community of friends, which we are, but it is also a community grounded in a beautiful spiritual philosophy. We have been in training, we've learned some things. Let us affirm that we were made for this time, and we can step into it with confidence and with the support of each other. May it be so, and so it is. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Susan Springfield. Wise words indeed, and I so appreciate your insightfulness and the way you bring the current events to our philosophy. And so let me go ahead and do the closing treatment for our talk this morning, and then we'll have some more music. And so I know that we have come together in mind and heart and spirit so that we can be in our oneness, that while the world around us may be reflecting an idea of separateness, an idea of divisiveness, an idea of pain and suffering, I know that below that is the truth of love, the truth that we're all equal, the truth that the world is ready to break forth into a new way of being, a new world order, if you will, ordered on this idea, this truth of love. Love that moves from our hearts, love that expresses itself in ways that are powerful and beautiful, love that is the great equalizer that knows no boundaries of economies or outer conditions. And I know that as each of us embrace what is ours to do, that we will walk out this highest idea of love. And so I trust that seedling of hope, that spark that Susan has so beautifully brought forth for us, so that we can begin to gently and carefully and tenderly cultivate our highest idea for all of humanity. It is with a grateful heart that I speak these words, and I know this to be truth. I give great thanks for this, and together we anchor this in power and love by saying together, and so it is.
And we will care for each other as the world around us unravels, and we will tend to the spark of hope that lives within our grieving hearts. And we are here now in this present moment, lifting our voices and hearts. And we are here now, we have come together, we are tending the spark of hope. Oh, may it grow. And we will care for each other as the world around us unravels, and we will tend to the spark of hope that lives within our grieving hearts. And we are here now. And we are here now, we have come together, we are tending the spark of hope it grows, and we will care for each other as the world around us unravels, and we will tend to the spark of hope that lives within our grieving hearts. And we are here now in this present moment, lifting our voices and hearts. And we are here now, we have come together, we are tending the spark of hope. Oh, may it grow, and we will care for each other.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. That was Yala Latte and Tending the Spark, and another beautiful video done by Susan Springfield. Thank you so much, Susan, for your powerful and insightful message. Our weekly affirmation, if you'll join me as we can say this together. Love is my decision, and today and every day I let it guide my every action. Here we go. Let's say this one more time. Love is my decision, and today and every day I let it guide my every action. I want to thank you for joining us for this broadcast this morning. I know that you mean a lot to us, and we mean a lot to you. And so I really want to thank those who are continuing to support us financially. Your financial support is very much a part of making sure that this broadcast happens, making sure that our center stays open and cared for, making sure that our employees get paid. It's really a blissful pleasure to be able to be supporting you in this way during these difficult times. So if you would like to donate, please remember that you can always mail your donations to our address, and that mail is checked regularly. You can also use PayPal, which is a button on our website, or text to give, where you would dial the number 44-321, and then in the message CSL give, and then you'll get some instructions about how you can set up the text messaging so that you can text your support. You can also use our givelify.com app. So thank you again for your support. Following this broadcast, we will be in our Zoom room. That'll be an opportunity for us to be in fellowship. I did want to tell you that June's theme is mindfulness for Mavericks, and certainly in this time of great change and shift, it's important for us to really use our mindfulness in a way that can help continue to push the growing edge of the evolutionary process that our society's going through. The book of the month, which may look backwards to you, but I'll read the title. It's called The Conscious Activist, Where Activism Meets Mysticism by James O'Day. And we are looking for a date to have a book study on this book. So that'll probably happen later in June, to be announced shortly. And don't forget, if you need a place to come to that centered space within yourself during these trying times, please join us Wednesday night for the Taizé and spiritual practice. It's 30 minutes of music and meditation and readings that are designed to really bring us back to that grounded centeredness where we know that we are one. Thank you again for joining us for our broadcast. I'll see you again on Wednesday or next Sunday when Elijah Christopher will be our speaker. I love you very much. Have a wonderful day.